Hello everyone, myself Ajit K, Assistant Professor cum Dietitian, Department of Nutrition and Dietetics, Yenepoya Naturopathic and Yogic Science College and Hospital. In this session, I am going to explain you the nutritional implication of a vegetarian diet. You all know that how important is the vegetarianism, that now we can see that many people are eating, the meat eaters are more as a present scenario. When the earlier days, the Indians are supposed to eat most of the vegetarian food, but unfortunately now we are adopting the Western culture. Now we came into the meat eating food product or the meat products also. So how important this vegetarian diet, what are its nutritional values and how it can help to cure the disease or prevent the disease. But once we adopted the Western culture, we now eat a lot of meat product. What are its disadvantages and what are the advantages of vegetarianism, I am going to discuss over here. Coming to the vegetarianism, it is nothing but it is like not consuming the meat food or not doing any meat products or not using any meat product, in the sense where we are not slaughtering the meat, not killing the meat, in a simple word. So completely avoiding all those things, maybe it could be there are several reasons for that, but completely we are abstaining from the consumption of meat and may include abstain from the by the products of the animal sources. Okay, completely we are going to avoid it completely. So depending upon this restriction also, there are so many variety types, in the sense types of vegetarian diet. So lacto-ovo-vegetarian, you can find lacto-vegetarian, ovo-vegetarian and a vegan. You can see the vegan now became a bigger trend over here. But lacto-ovo-vegetarian is nothing but the consuming dairy products and egg, but no meat, poultry and seafood. And lacto-vegetarian, eating all the dairy foods, not egg, including meat, poultry and seafoods. Ovo-vegetarian is eats egg but no dairy products, meat, poultry and seafood. And vegan, it does not include any animal product including meat, fish, poultry or egg or dairy products. Many vegans also nowadays they avoid honey, because people say that honey comes from the saliva of that bee. So that's why they avoid in vegan, the people who follow the vegan diet. But as per, it could be the several reason for these types also. Few people will drink milk, and nowadays there are so many myths also, as well as so many discussions will happen. People say that egg, whether it is a vegetarian or is a non-vegetarian, milk, it is a vegetarian, non-vegetarian, because both come from an animal source. But there is so many myths in that, as well as belief, as well as the traditional values also on there. Okay, but nowadays the commercialization also will happen, so few people will avoid completely milk and they go into vegan also. But in earlier days, there were people who follow with their culture, tradition as well as ancestors, where they were not eating the non-vegetarians, and nowadays also continuing that same culture. Okay, so that's how these types are there in the vegetarian diets. Why vegetarian diet? What is the use, or what is the purpose they became vegetarian, or what is the purpose we should become the vegetarian? One is a family influence. Family influence, in the sense the people who come with the background of the ancient times, where they are not eating the non-veg sources, and from their culture, has from next to next generation also they are carrying the same thing. And moral and ethical belief. Okay, so one is the ethical things they believe on, that we should not kill the animals, we should not be cruel. Okay, so that's the purpose, or refusal of killing animals and conquer of animal welfare. Nowadays we can see that animal welfare also conquer on that also, people will stop killing these animals. That could be one reason also. And health conquer. Okay, in the sense nowadays we know that if the meat eaters or non-veg eaters have the health condition is not that great when you compare with the vegetarian eaters. Okay, and the economic and geographic in nature. So why it is economic and geographic? Because say for example, to grow a 1 kg of rice we may need some liters of water, okay, but if when you compare with the beef, if you want to grow or if you want to eat 1 kg of beef, you need some 1000 liters of water, okay. So that's how it is affecting the geography as well as it affecting the economy, but we are not conquered on that. But nowadays we can see that millet revolution is happening, okay. Why? Because see, millets require less water comparatively rice growing, okay. So that's the reason it we mentioned here. Even being vegetarian or being vegan also will help the economic status as well as the geographic, where we can find increase the water resource also. Taste and sensory preferences. So nowadays the generation people may like lot of non-veg when we compare with the vegetarian, but in vegetarian also there are so many dishes or so many variety food can be prepared. And philosophical reasons where religious teachings such as Buddhism or membership of Seventh Day, like it depends upon their culture or tradition, where religious belief, okay, in particular religion they will be not eating, in particular religion they teach that we should not kill the animals, it is something cruel, okay. So that's a one philosophical reason also. And one more thing is the food safety measures, in the sense it could be E. coli, salmonella, or use of antibiotics or a growth hormone in meat production. As the evolution happens, as the requirement increases, automatically the adulteration or food safety things also matters. You can find that many places where the meat found with some or other insects or the worms, okay. Same way it could be infected by the antibiotic also, or they may give antibiotic for that particular meat so that it won't have any disease, okay. Because of that the antibiotic same content could enter to the human body also. So that's why food safety conquer is also an important thing, okay. So major plant food and their benefits. So vegetable and fruits, they are rich source of fiber, so okay, as an important source of vitamin, minerals and trace elements, and provide good amount of calcium, iron and phytonutrient, okay. So it's a importance, okay. And as per the World Cancer Research Foundation report, they say that eating fruits and vegetable against it is a protective against the cancer. So it could be lung cancer, it could be mouth, esophagus or stomach, okay. So and we get maximum nutrient from this fruit and vegetable. Meanwhile we have good amount of nuts and seeds, okay. So here in coastal we use lot of coconuts, okay. So that's also will give you maximum good amount of nutrients, whole grains and legumes. So that also will provide a good amount of carbohydrate as well as good amount of fiber, okay. So what are other health benefits? We all are aware that there is a lot of health benefits being a vegetarian or eating a lot of vegetable food. Major thing is the blood cholesterol level, reduces the blood cholesterol level, lowers the risk of heart disease, okay, and lowers blood pressure, lowers the risk of getting hypertension and type 2 diabetes. Vegetarian tend to have a lower body mass index, that is all because of the fat content or the cholesterol which is present in this animal food. So what happens is when we follow completely vegan or vegetarian food, the maximum nutrient and vitamins and minerals, so the maximum we are getting the minor nutrients, micronutrients. So micronutrients always help or prevent or protect the body, okay. So that's the reason we found all these benefits, okay. And it lowers overall cancer rates and lowers the mortality rates and improves mood and other diseases, okay. So there are a lot of evidences which is saying that the vegetarian diet could help you a lot to improve your overall health, okay. So nutritional consideration of a vegetarian, in the sense here the main part there will be some myths and belief, okay. People say that vegetarians may not get good amount of protein because we are taught in such a way that where animal is a complete protein, we get lot of protein from animal food, we may not get omega-3 fatty acid, we won't get vitamin B12 because it is only present in animal food, and not a good amount of calcium, no amount a good amount of zinc. Okay, so vegetarian and vegan can obtain all the nutrients needed to a healthy by consuming a varied diet. However, some nutrients are harder to get from a vegetarian or a vegan diet. This is neither because the plant food contains smaller quantity than the animal food, or because they are less easily absorbed by the body. Okay, so that could be the reason where our body is not able to absorb it properly because of the high nutrient content. In the sense, it could contain the anti-nutritional factor also. The processing or a pre-preparation of food also matters. Okay, so when you compare with the meat, it has very less amount of nutrient. I mean, there is no mixture of nutrient. So when there is no mixture of nutrient, the absorption could happen a maximum level. So here there are so many nutrients are present in that when we eat variety of food, there could be lot of nutrient, maybe the absorption may not be completely happen over there. Okay, so coming to the protein, we all know that protein is an essential source of amino acid for growth and tissue repair and for synthesis of enzymes and hormone. So enough of essential amino acid are supplied by food eaten during the course of day. So there is a myth in the vegetarian people also. So vegetarians does not consume enough protein. So typically protein intake of vegetarians tends to meet its requirement, although vegan may sometimes have marginal protein intake as per the American Diabetic Association. Okay, so we all have a misconception that only non-veg will be providing, or non-veg food will be providing maximum protein. Yeah, it is true, because when you compare with heme and non-heme, so non-heme which is going to absorb completely by a body when you compare with the heme. But here we have a lot of varieties, lot of options for this protein. So when we take some pulses also, we have like legumes and soya products which should give you adequate protein intake, and there are plant sources like legumes, nuts, soya products including soya milk, and different varieties are made out of that also. And the grains and vegetables also contains good amount of protein, but in smaller quantity. The combination, when you compare the combination, it could give you complete. Okay, so for example, 100 gram of rice is going to give you around 4 gram of protein. Okay, so when you make a idli, it's a 1:2:1 we are taking, where combination of rice and pulses. Okay, when it comes together, it makes a complete. Okay, so where we are taking the protein index 3:1 ratio, because protein is requirement, neither it falls under 0.8 gram to 1 gram our accord as per our ideal body weight. So if your ideal body is 60 kg, we may require some 55 to 60 gram of protein per day. That when we eat such combination, when you opt for a good combination in a vegetarian diet, and it could meet on a right way. Okay, so we have a lot of varieties. Even all the pulses will give you good amount of protein. For example, if you for example of the green gram, 100 gram of green gram going to give you almost 22 gram of protein. Okay, so same way soya bean is going to give you a maximum protein. There are a lot of legumes and a lot of pulses would give you good nutrients. Okay, and one more is omega-3 fatty acid. So we understood that omega-3 fatty acid comes only from the animal product, but it's not true. Omega-3 fatty acids like DHA and exopentanoic acid are essential for the cardiovascular health and mental health and brain health and eye health. So we get it completely from the almonds, we get it from the vegetables, we get it from the protein sources like soya bean also. Okay, so omega-3 fatty acids also play an important role. So we get it in a maximum requirement when we follow the vegan diet. Iron requirement, so as we know that iron requirement may be the heme and non-heme. Okay, so non-heme we found in animal foods, okay, or including eggs, and it also we found in the legumes, whole grains, nuts and seeds. Okay, and heme iron is found completely in animal food, meat, poultry and fish, and non-heme is not well absorbed, but its absorption can be increased significantly in the presence of vitamin C. So we have two varieties of iron. Okay, so the iron which is present in non-veg sources could absorb completely, but when we follow vegan, we won't have any animal product, so we get this iron from a vegetable sources. In that case, we can make it that well absorbed by including vitamin C, so that making a good combination could make you 100%. So zinc, the bioavailability of zinc from a vegetarian diet is lower than the non-vegetarian diet. Absorption of zinc is reduced by presence of phytic acid content in the vegetarian diet like wheat, bran or whole grain and legume. So zinc also is present in maximum in non-veg food, but when you compare with the vegetarian vegan food, there is less. But here also the combination you can see in the left right corner of that image, where if you have variety of pulses, you have kidney beans, you have rajma, you have green beans, pigeon beans, you have green gram and channas. In channas also there are so many varieties. So it all has good amount of zinc, but make sure that how we process the food, that plays an important role, because soaking the pulses is always and plays an important role, so that it reduces the anti-nutritional factor which is present over there. The anti-nutritional factors will inhibit the absorption of zinc. Okay, so that's why we should soak the pulses, then you have to cook. Without soaking we should not make, because that anti-nutritional factors could be present if you are not doing all this pre-processing. So pre-processing is very important. Iodine. So iodine is essential trace element needed for a normal mental and physical growth and development. So vegans does not eat a seafood or a milk, and they have lower risk of iodine. So here we know that we vegans won't eat iodine foods, but when you take away the salt what we use, okay, so that is obviously it is enriched with the iodine content. So we get it the iodine source from the salt. Okay, so it we could meet that requirement by that thing. Okay, so on calcium. So calcium intake are generally similar to a lacto-ovo-vegetarian and a non-vegetarian, although vegans typically have a lower intake. So there is no significant difference in bone health indicates between lacto-vegetarian and those who eat meat. And although vegans do have a lower bone mineral density, so there is no any evidence or significance that calcium could lower in case of vegetarian. But when you see the recent studies and will mention that excess eating of non-veg could reverse the calcium, in the sense it could be remove the excess calcium, in the sense it may reverse. Okay, so the bone mineral density could be reversed over here, where the excess protein, okay, when you take the excess protein, that could react with this calcium and it makes inhibit the calcium. Okay, so that's why we see that lot of people who end up with this osteoarthritis and bone related issues, that could be one reason. But being vegan, we will not have a deficiency for calcium, but being a non-vegetarian, you could get a good enough of calcium, but it may not be completely absorbed by your body, because this non-veg or the protein could inhibit the calcium absorption. It could reverse the reaction. Okay, so the recent studies it could say. And vitamin D, and we all know that vitamin D we have only one source, that is sunshine, we call it as only sunlight. So when it comes to vegetarian, there could be a question, how do they get it the vitamin D? Okay, so here because why it is told like this, because few vitamin D or the negligible amount of vitamin D could come from the meat products also. So that's why it is claimed that vegans may not get good amount of vitamin D. But the recent study found that button mushrooms exposed to ultraviolet radiation produce a vitamin D, and it could potentially provide a food source of for a vegan. Okay, so vitamin deficiency, one thing is that we should be exposed to the sunlight. If at all not possible, whatever we try in sunlight could help you. So here for vegetarians we have a mushroom option, or we have a yeast. So it could be a precursor for the vitamin D, and it is used in most of the food products. Okay, that is a reason where the vegan diet, the vegan people or who are into vegetarians may not have a deficiency of vitamin D, even if they are not exposed to sunlight, and if they, even though if they are not exposed, even though they are not eating good amount of vitamin D or vitamin D enriched foods, then they may could end up with the vitamin D deficiency also. Okay, so it could be common, remains same with vegetarian, non-vegetarian people also. And vitamin B12, I think it could be one of the major major issues or major clarification is required in this point, where the potential conquer of everyone following vegan or vegetarian diet, especially important for women who are pregnant or breastfeeding to prevent deficiency in their baby. So vitamin B12, there is so much people say that vitamin B12 we get it only from a non-veg source, and only the maybe the milk product could be some source for vitamin B12, but it is not exactly true that, because vitamin B12 is linked with vitamin D also. So if you have good amount of vitamin D, then you could have a good amount of vitamin B12. When you compare the patients who have the vitamin B12 deficiency, meanwhile they will have vitamin D deficiency also. Okay, so here vitamin B12 we get it from the animal source. In animal source also, it's not that all the part of animal will give you good amount of vitamin B12, only the organ meats you give you complete vitamin, I mean some sort of vitamin, complete vitamin B12. Okay, so if you eat organ meats you may get it vitamin B12, but for a vegetarian there is only option that where curd or milk could give you vitamin B12. But when you follow completely vegan, when you skip milk or milk product also, you may not have good amount of vitamin B12. But in that cases, the combination of pulses or fermented food could give you good amount of vitamin B12. It is not that or it does not have any, I mean zero. It has fermented food give you good amount of vitamin B12. In earlier days, the pickle could give you good amount of vitamin B12, but nowadays we use the commercialized or shop based, where it does not have some that much sort of vitamin B12, but the whatever the food soaked for years together in a pickle, it could ferment over there, and we get it from some sort of vitamin B12. Okay, and some of the traditional fermented food give you good amount of vitamin B12, and make sure that you, if you are vegan, you eat good amount of vitamin B12, and if you are a non-vegetarian, it is better you eat a good amount of this organ meat, so that you could meet good amount, or you may get good amount of vitamin B12. So concluding this vegetarianism or vegetarian diet or a vegan diet. So plant-based diet is generally rich in fiber, phytonutrients and antioxidants, vitamins and minerals, which in turn strengthens the immune system and lowers the aging process. Additionally, vegetarian diet can prevent and reverse certain chronic diseases, so it makes a sense that vegetarians can have a longer lifespan. So all this previous slide we have understood that how important this vegetarian diet, because meat could give you some sort of nutrient, it could give you carbohydrate, it could give you some sort of protein and fat. Other than that, if you eat good amount of organ meat, it could give you some sort of calcium, iron, all those things, but it may not makes you complete. Okay, so when you change completely into vegetarian, you could get good amount of immune system, you could get of good strengthens the immune system, as well as you could reverse the chronic diseases. Okay, there are so many recent studies which say that following vegetarian diet they could reverse the diabetes, they could reduce their cholesterol. But here when we take this present scenario as per the Western culture, we eat a lot of non-veg sources, but it is fine, we can eat, it's not that we should not eat, but make sure that you meanwhile you eat good amount of the vegetarian product also, because it could give good amount of fiber, so that fiber could reverse all your disease condition. Okay, so the main thing where we found the myth is, one thing is the protein. So in vegetarians may not get good enough protein, but vegetarian have a lot of pulses and legumes. Vitamin B12, fermented food could give you vitamin B12, iron. So there are so many leafy vegetable could give you a good amount of iron. Calcium, we say that only milk has a good amount of calcium, but there are so many millets and maybe the ragi or the pulses also will give you a good amount of calcium. Okay, so these are the major nutritional conquer comes with when you discuss on this vegan and non-veg foods. Okay, so concluding that is always the fiber rich diet is always good. Okay, so that could come from the fruit and vegetable or a vegetarian diet, as well as it could reverse or it could prevent the chronic diseases. So it makes a sense that vegetarian can live a longer lifespan. Okay, thank you.